Look at this Tesla. Look how fucking beautiful it is.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel that I have just started yesterday. So today I'm actually here with a Reddit AMA that I started. It is I Am A Waitress, who has worked at multiple different restaurants. I worked at sports bars, clubs, and local restaurants. I currently work at a high-end Indian restaurant in my city. Now I'm going to be reading the questions. I've already answered them in my Reddit post, but I'll link those down below and you can read them, but I'm just going to be responding off the top for short reasons because they're very long replies. But okay, let's get into it. Okay, so the first question comes from Golden Panther 83, and he says, has all the coronavirus stuff impacted your tips? Have you noticed a decrease in the amount of people going out to eat? Unfortunately, yes, Golden Panther, I have seen a decrease in customers coming in. I haven't seen any dramatic changes to my wages, but I'll have to see. You know, I mean, if it lasts for long, then I'll definitely have to get another job, but right now it's not affecting me severely, but I definitely have seen changes, yes. Next question is from, excuse me. The next question is from Kubabe999. Are you still working at these places? Does it get really boring after some time, or engaging with different kind of people every day? Does it keep it interesting? It's a really weirdly phrased question. Yes, I'm still working at these places. I'm only working at one place. I am working at the Indian place, like I said. It does get boring, especially when I work at lunchtime, because there's not too much business, and I'm really just getting ready for nighttime, honestly, during the day, because there really isn't any business. So yeah, it does get boring, but you know, definitely during like dinner rushes, like I'm busy straight throughout. There's not any moment that I'm not busy. So after my reply, he said, yes, I think you would have to approach each table with the mindset that they may not be interested in conversing with you, or else it might be disheartening when they don't respond and just ignore. How do you guys know who to approach when there are multiple customers? Yeah, so usually at my restaurant we do sections, so I'm just assigned to one set of tables and I attend to those tables the entire time and I don't go anywhere else. But at different places that I've worked at, we've had like a rotating thing where the host will seat somebody and then that person goes and, you know, Reddit user 55364, he wants to know if I've ever messed up badly, how I dealt with it, and also wants to know the grossest thing I've seen in restaurants. So, okay, messed up badly, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's hard to, but at least in my experience, it's hard to mess up. Like, the worst mess up I've ever had was I dropped a plate or I scanned the wrong credit card under the wrong bill, but those are all fixable problems, so I wouldn't say that I've ever experienced something that I messed up poorly, and the way that I deal with it is just, hey, manager, deal with it. You know, not really had to do that. Waiters aren't really responsible for shit like that. So yeah. The grossest thing I've ever seen in restaurants, now this is aside from waiting because I've worked in the food service industry my whole life. In fast food restaurants, when it's transitioning from breakfast to lunch, they tend to keep the food still when it's like the end of breakfast about to be lunch. They keep the food and they keep it under the warmer even though it's died like a long time ago, and then it's just soggy and like the fucking sausage starts to change a different color and it's fucking gross. I've seen expired bottles of milk, expired bottles of juice, soda sold. I've seen people drop things on the ground like silverware, pick it up and put it back in the bucket that we distribute it. I've seen people clean things off of plates with their spit, like literally going like this onto the plate, get a little stain off. I've seen some shit. Ice buckets are disgusting in all restaurants. That's just a fact. Like, ice buckets are fucking gross because they grow germs in them like that. I've seen moldy ice buckets. I mean, I used to work at a coffee shop. Mold would grow at the bottom of the ice bucket by the time that we were done with it. Yeah, man. Is there any sense of competition between all workers? No, not really. I mean, not where I am, because it's like we all have like the same amount of tables, so there's no real point to be in competition with each other, especially like the maximum amount of tables that I can take at once are like 10 tables at once, and after that it's like the customer's gonna have a shit experience, I'm gonna have a shit experience, we're all just having a bad time, and it's not even worth it. I mean, like, unless it's like an impressive day, like Valentine's Day, I made $400. That's an impressive feat that I would share with my coworkers. But you know, like, just every day, just being like, oh, today I made $200, like, we don't really talk about it. So no, there's no real competition. Younger people, usually you tend to find that there's a lot of drama, but competition. If a customer behaves bad, I think it might be hard to convince your managers that it wasn't your fault. Because I'm reading this is like a one big ass paragraph of questions, so I'm just reading them all and going through them. But if a customer is behaving badly, 9 times out of my 10, my manager thinks you're a cunt. Like, they usually don't really blame the server as much. I mean, if it is the server's fault, the server's always gonna, like, I mean, at least me, like, I'm always gonna own up to it, and it doesn't really cause any problems. It's easy fixes. What about your own lunch or dinner when you're working? Do you take anything you like from the menu? Yes, I do. I eat every day. I like rice pudding. I like bachuri bread. I like any curry dish that I want that day. I eat basmati rice. I eat that shit every single day. So yeah, thank you. Same person, Kubabe, says, where do you live? Are you a student working part-time? No, I live in a southern sunny state. I'm not a student working part-time. I just happen to live here with my roommates. How do you guys feel when a customer who walks in and just doesn't know anything on the menu? Of course you can't know everything on the menu, but you should still be aware of some stuff, right? Yeah, so at first when I started working, I didn't know anything about Indian food. I wasn't introduced to it. I've never tried it. So I definitely had tons of questions about it. So how am I supposed to really be annoyed with a customer if they don't know anything? I mean, that's my fucking job. Like, I'm going to have to explain it to them. And if I didn't know almost the entire menu, like, then what the fuck? Like, that's my job, you know? So no, I don't get annoyed when people don't know, because at one point I didn't know. Oza Derelict says, did you ever get groped? Fuck no. Like, that would be so terrible if that happened. I definitely had, like, people say weird things to me, ask my name and number, ask when I get off of work, but I've never had anybody touch me, especially when I worked in a club, and because it was a sports bar that turned into a nightclub at night. When I worked out there, it would, like, what the fuck? I'm so sorry, that was the literally worst noise I've ever. There were so many, like, security guard and staff posted up all over the place, because if you worked late as a server and you were kind of in between the times that it was turning into a nightclub, like, shit would get poppin'. So yeah, we need protection. And like, so yeah, I've never seen a server be touched or anything inappropriate like that. They definitely said inappropriate things, looked at me in inappropriate ways, but if they touched me, that would be ooh. Derelict says, do you find yourself attractive? Yes. Okay. Golden Panther says, so you never had any one of those good Samaritans who just drop $500 tips just because? How would something like that change your day? Yeah, no. I've had the equivalent to people dropping $500 tips where, like, they'll have, like, a bill that's $40 and they'll tip me $40, like 100%. Like, that is something amazing. I genuinely feel as if I made an experience for them that night. That makes me feel great as a server. Perolium says, are they all the same? I've worked at 2 and they both seem like they could be so much better and most of all fun with the right management. See, now I need this person to define what they mean by they all, so I'm going to assume that they mean all restaurants, and if that's the case, then there are fun moments to working at restaurants, of course. Like, you know, especially if you work with a bunch of people that are in your age bracket and you can go do some fuck shit after work. But, like, yeah, I mean, restaurants can be fun. It just depends, you know? Like, some people have bad days, some people have good days. Sometimes we're really busy and we're all having a bad day, and sometimes it's busy but we're all having a good day, you know what I mean? So it just depends on who you're working with, what kind of day it is, and just the general crowd, you know? What is the biggest tip you ever received? So this would require me to do a little bit of math, which luckily I already did for myself earlier when I answered the AMAs. That would be based off the biggest bill I've ever had. So the biggest bill that I've ever recall having was $323. And what we do is parties that are over 6 or more, we automatically charge them 18% gratuity so the servers don't get dicked. So that would be a tip of about $58. But yeah, that's probably about the highest tip I've ever seen, somewhere about like $50-$60, yeah. Okay, and that's really all the questions that I had, but it was long enough to make a video, and I was actually pleasantly surprised by how many how many questions I received. So yeah, if you like that, please go share, tell your friends, whatever. Make me famous. Just kidding, kind of, sort of. Alright, bye.